All right, fourth grade, so it's our science time. It's Wednesday, the 15th of April, and we are starting a new chapter, chapter 7, known as geology. We're going to read and learn all about, let me adjust the camera here a little bit, all about planet Earth. Hang on one sec. There you go. Is that better? So you can see over my shoulder. Where we're going to read pages 151 to 153, and we're going to be learning about Earth in this planet. And so let's look really quickly at our Comp Check 7.1 to see the questions on page 153 and the major points that we're going to be looking for. Number 1 says the Earth is shaped like a ball or blank. Number 2, what is the imaginary line around the Earth which divides it in half? What do we call that? And number 3, what is the name for the part of the Earth from the North Pole to the imaginary middle line, and from the imaginary middle line into the South Pole? Okay, so we're going to learn about those things today. So be listening and reading along with me as we find the major points of Comp Check 7.1. So it says geology. I'm on the first page here. It says planet Earth. O Lord, how manifold are thy works. The earth is full of thy riches. Psalms 104:24. Our home, the earth. He stretched out the north over the empty place and hangeth the earth upon nothing. Only God can do that. Job 26:7. When God created the universe and all that is in it, he planned a special place for man to live. That special place is our planet, the earth. The circle of the earth. The earth is round like a ball or sphere. Okay, we looked at number 1. It says the earth is shaped like a ball or sphere. Okay, so that means basically it's not perfectly round. It's shaped like a ball, not exactly like a ball. It's not quite like an egg. An egg is more of an oval. So we're going to look more about what a sphere, read more about what a sphere would be like. You probably already know that the Bible told us this about the earth long before men figured it out. Isaiah 40:22 says, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. Okay, so it's the shape of a circle, but not like an exact, it's more of a sphere. Okay, and I'll explain that. Well, the book's going to explain that to us. It says, because the earth is like a sphere, special maps called globes can help us to understand what the earth is like. A globe is a sphere-shaped map that looks like a miniature earth. To make it easier to find places on the earth, most globes are marked with points and lines. These markings are not actually on the earth, but they are on globes and maps to help us find places that are north, south, east, or west of other locations. Find the following markings on your classroom globe. Well, we're not at class, but we can look down here at a globe that they have for us. At the top of the globe is the North Pole. The South Pole is at the bottom. North, top, south, bottom. The imaginary line around the earth that is exactly halfway between the North and the South poles is called the equator. So that was one of our questions in our comp check. The equator, the imaginary lines that is halfway between the North and the South. Okay, poles. The equator divides the sphere of the earth in half. Each half is called a hemisphere, which means half of a sphere. The half of the earth between the North Pole and the equator is the northern hemisphere. Look at your globe down here. Here's the North Pole. Here's the South Pole. Here's the equator. And so the equator is the imaginary line that we talked about. They've given us a little white line to look at, but there is no white line there. Okay, it's imaginary. And everything to the north is called the northern hemisphere of the equator, towards the North Pole, and towards the South Pole is the southern hemisphere. All right? And we could see that this is tipped on its axis. That's why it's not lined up like you'd see a flat map, like my classroom map. it's not going to be perfectly, because the Earth's not flat. So it's at an angle. All right, that's why the equator line doesn't look like it's right in the middle, but it is. But the Earth is tipped on its axis, okay? We'll talk more about that. So the half of the Earth between the North Pole and the equator is the northern hemisphere. That was a question. And the half way between the South Pole and the equator is the southern hemisphere. That's the second part of the third question. Which hemisphere do you live on? We live in the northern hemisphere. Good. The diameter of the Earth at the equator is about 8,000 miles. The diameter measured, let's turn a page, from the North Pole to the South Pole is a little shorter. This means that the Earth is not perfectly round, like I said. It's a sphere. It is slightly flattened at the top. However, the difference is so small that when the Earth is viewed from space, it appears round, okay? So it's a little bit, it's not rounded, it's a little bit flattened on the North Pole, a little bit flattened on the South Pole. So like I said, by not being completely round or a perfect circle, it's because it's flattened on the top and flattened North Pole, South Pole. So I said, I don't want you to think of I mentioned earlier, like the shape of an egg. I don't want you, it's not like that, okay? That's not what a sphere is. It just means that it's not perfectly round all the way around, okay? Because it's flat on the top and flat on the bottom. You get it, you're smart people. All right, so it is slightly flattened at the poles. However, the difference is so small that when the Earth is viewed from space, it appears round. It looks perfectly round. If you could see the Earth from space, you would also see what holds it up. Nothing. It's called Jesus, right? Long before men traveled in space and could see this for themselves, God told us in the Bible that he, quote, hangeth the earth upon nothing. Job 26:7. Maps and globes are often, so in other words, obviously no one can create but God, right? And so he created the earth to hang in space. But we know the truth is that, you know, the little song, he's got the whole world in his hands, that he holds everything together. Remember, the corner, the capstone and the foundation, the beginning and the end. So maps and globes are often updated as new information about the Earth becomes available. Satellites orbiting the Earth have been very useful to map makers. The Landsat series of satellites began mapping the Earth in 1972. I was 10 years old. About some of your age, some of you are about to be 10 when you're in 5th grade. Landsat photographs have revealed new information about our planet. A photograph taken in 1976 showed an island which was previously unknown off the coast of Labrador, Canada. The island has been named Landsat Islands. Okay, so like it said in the beginning of that paragraph, maps and globes are often updated as new information about the Earth becomes available. As our satellites become more, even more incredible and more able to see more and experience more, we learn more. You need to know that the Milky Way is just one galaxy, okay? The Milky Way, where the planets are, where we live. God created the universe. There's stuff out there that we will never, ever, ever be able to know, because you can't like know everything that God created. He's too big. He's too awesome. He's too amazing. We live in one little galaxy out of so many. Okay, and so he will never know it all. We'll never see it all. The mysteries of God. And so that's exciting just even to think about, that we can see these beautiful planets. You know, we went to the Science Center. We can learn about them in our textbook. Some of you might be astronauts and go into space and fly through the Milky Way. And it's just a small piece of what's out there. So something to think about. I'm excited about this unit. I think we need to really learn more and more about our Earth and honor it and thank God for it, obviously, and take good care of it. So you have your answers to your questions. The Earth is shaped like a ball or blank. Number 2, what is the imaginary line around the Earth which divides it in half? Number 3, what is the name for the part of the Earth from the North Pole to the imaginary middle line? So what hemisphere is that? And then from the imaginary middle line to the South Pole, what hemisphere is that? All right? So be thorough in your answers, put them in complete sentences, and I look forward to giving you all 100%.